Even if
And
you're 100 miles or 200 miles, I
it's
mean,
not far
isn't
enough.
like in Northern California, you got Mavericks, that where there's surf.
Mavericks.
And is that even if you're 100 miles west of Mavericks, aren't you still going to get that volatility?
Yeah, well, massive volatility. And the problem is that time of year it starts coming out of the north. And so you've got almost unlimited fetch. Fetch is the amount of distance that wind has to travel over the ocean. So, there's famous places, especially in Northern California, Cape Mendocino, off Fort Bragg. If you take 20 knots of wind, so that would normally create about a 12-foot sea. At Cape Mendocino, 20 knots of wind, you can triple it. Everything gets tripled. So that means you're going to get 60 knots of wind. So if the forecast is 20 knots of wind, you're going to get 60 knots of wind. 60 knots of wind is 75 miles an hour. It's a hurricane. And you can expect 50-foot seas. So, 50-foot seas, that means every 2.5 hours, you're going to get rogue waves that are double that. 100-foot seas. So now you're talking seriously life-threatening seas. And what we experienced on that trip was, I mean, that story alone, I could fill a 3-hour podcast. But we got knocked down. We put a 26-ton boat 100% into the air at one point. One wave, the wave that knocked us down, so that's sail in the water, and then we recovered, came back up. The whole wave filled the boat with water. I mean, my computer's just flopping around in the ocean in the bottom of the boat. My dad went overboard, so I was asleep when that happened. My dad went overboard. If he hadn't been clipped in, he'd be dead. He was completely catatonic after that for 10 hours from slamming his head when he came back into the boat. Almost broke his ankle. We almost got run down that night by a tanker in seas that were so big that he couldn't see us, and he went right across our bow. Couldn't even see us, totally blind. And I couldn't see him on my radar, and he was 780 feet long. I mean, this guy, I had been trying. So this after the knockdown, and it blew everything off the top deck completely off. I had a hard Dodger with those kind of soft windows. The wave hit us so hard that shit just got ripped completely off the boat. And all the stanchion all blown over. I almost got blown over. At one point I was trying to do a sail change and almost got blown when the boat jumped off the ocean. I was hanging onto the sail and went 20 feet up the mast and then came down. I would just it's a crazy. I'd love to tell you the whole story. It was an unbelievable night of battling literally hurricane force winds. And I got to tell the tanker story though. So at one point, we'd been going dead south down the coast, and then we had this knockdown incident and huge seas. I had way too much sail up, and when we recovered from all that, the fuel, my engine was down. And so we put up just a little bit of sail, and I thought, and my dad's catatonic. He can't talk. I don't know what's wrong with him. And I think, okay, we got to go to Fort Bragg, which means we're going to now go beam on the seas, much harder than just going downwind. And so we are just taking it. I mean, at night, we had two crew, and we had heavy weather gear, and the only thing that was showing were just our eyeballs, because the when it's blowing that hard, the ocean, you can think of it as like ice crystals. It's just ripping you in the face, and it's freezing cold, and we're hand steering. The autopilot's been knocked out. We're hand steering all night, and I'd made contact at one point when I was calling the Coast Guard to just give them an update. We didn't need their help at this point, but we were having a hard go, and just letting them know, like, hey, I'm changing course. I'm going to try to make Fort Bragg by morning. So, I'm going to be sailing all night. I'd love to check in with you every hour just to let you know. And I signed off with them at one point, and this fisherman gets on the horn, and he's, hey man, I've sailed, up and down this coast for 20 something years. This is one of the worst storms I've ever been in. I'm terrified for you guys. I need you to check in with me every hour. I'm going to do nothing but sit by the radio. I want to know that you guys are okay. So I was checking in with them every hour, and sometime 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, I get on the radio, and I call this guy, and I'm talking to him, and he's kind of like my lifeline. I just love talking to this guy. I mean, we're frozen and so cold, and my dad's not talking, and I hang up. And the name of our boat was Saoirse. It was really hard for people to say. And another guy gets on and he goes, sailing vessel, Falacia. And I was like, no, it's Saoirse, but okay.
No,
and he goes, can you repeat your Latin long and course and speed? And so I run back up top, look at the GPS and write it down, come back down, and and I give it to him. And he goes, do you see anything on your radar? And what do you mean, see what? What are you talking about? Do you see any ships on your radar? And I go, well, no, but I mean, how could I see anything? If the seas are 50 feet, I've only got an 80-foot mass. It's just snow. I don't see anything but snow on the radar. And I go, why? Should I? And he goes, well, we're 780 feet long. We're lit up like a Christmas tree and we're on a collision course. Yes, I think you should see me. I don't know what to do. I'm going to run right over you. And he was way too big. And so he's heading south and I'm heading east and we're on a collision course. And those guys take a half an hour to slow down. They can't just move, right? And he's literally, and they've got amazing instruments on those things. I got a little tiny Garmin GPS, but he's mapping it all out, and he's going, "Holy fuck, I'm going to run over you!" And so I run back upstairs. My buddy Chris is hand steering, and I'm like, "Chris," it's so loud in those kind of winds. "Chris, do you see anything on the radar?" And he's like, "What? What do you mean, do I see it?" "Yeah, I see everything on the radar. It's just snow, man. It's just waves. How can we see anything? How can you see us?" So I run back down. I'm like, "Hey, man, what do I do? I can't see, we don't see any lights. I don't see anything on the radar. You want me to bear off or that kind of thing?" And he goes, "No, I just went right across your bow. It looks like we're safe." We never saw this dude. 12 stories high, 780 feet long. He went right across our bow. Didn't see him.
So he passed you. You didn't pass over him. You were going on a collision course. You were going to T-bone him, but you didn't.
T-bone. We were going to T-bone. Neither one of us did anything. We got lucky. It's just amazing to me that you can be in the middle of the ocean with a tanker. This is the big dogs, the ones that don't even fit in the Panama Canal. It went right across my bow. Oh my God.
Wow.